Quest accepted. Wait, where are we going?
Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with an Ezreal updated complete guide. So as usual with the rest of the updated complete guides, I will be leaving the link to the previous updated complete guide in the description as well as the cards. Now this is so that you guys can check out the skills description and a leveling order in the interest of time, so we don't have to waste too much of it covering it in this video. But we have Ezreal. Now I do not think that Ezreal is top tier anymore. I don't think he's S+. He's definitely at least S tier, but I don't think he's S+ anymore. Now this is not because he gotten weaker or anything, it's just simply due to the fact that other champions benefited way more from the 2.4 items, as well as just champions being in general better than him at the moment, like Kai'Sa, Xayah, Corki, Lucian, all these kind of champions. But Ezreal is still a really good pick. Of course, Ezreal's main point is his safety with his E and his mobility. Not too many AD carries have that. And yeah, so let's just jump into the updated build. Now this is the updated build for Ezreal. The runes haven't changed, the spells haven't changed, but the items certainly have, as you guys can see. So, as you guys can see, we go from Mana Immune into Triforce, into Boots, and then we go for Seraylda's Grudge, Death's Dance, and Guardian Angel. So of course, first up, we start off our build with the Sapphire Crystal. I guess it's under Magic. We start off with the Sapphire Crystal to start charging our tier from the very beginning. On our first back, we want to pick up the tier of the Goddess, and after we pick up tier of the Goddess, we want to pick up the Sheen. So this is a really important step, which is to pick up the Sheen, which I cannot find. So you want to pick up the Sheen because it does give you a lot of damage in the early game. Now your main early game damage is from the Sheen, basically, because your Q procs on hit effects, so it's gonna proc the Sheen effect, which is gonna give you a lot of damage. Not a lot of damage, but some early game damage. So if you don't have the Sheen, your damage is really going to be hurt quite a bit. Now there is an exception where you don't go for the Sheen, and that's if you can purchase your entire Mana Immune when you back, which is the situation I'm going to find myself in later on in the gameplay, as you guys will see. But generally after tier you want to pick up Sheen and then complete the Mana Immune. So after the Mana Immune, of course we go for Triforce. Now it is highly not recommended to go for the the Iceborne Gauntlet build anymore. Now the reason for that is the main point of the Iceborne Gauntlet build is for the utility of the slow. It's not really for the armor, particularly for the ability haste, because the ability haste also lies on the Triforce. So you don't really want to go for Iceborne Gauntlet anymore. Reason for that is that Seraylda's Grudge now exists. We'll cover that later. So we go for the Triforce. Now the biggest power spike Ezreal can get is when he hits Triforce and the upgraded Mana Immune, which is the Mirror Mana. So when you get your Triforce, it's your first power spike, and when you get your Mirror Mana, which is your evolved Mana Immune, is your second power spike. So after you get these two, pretty much that's the highest, biggest power spike you can get in the entire game. Then, of course, you want to go for Boots. You go for the, normally I go for the Gluttonous Greaves. Now the reason is, we don't actually have any kind of lifesteal in our build. So this is the only form of lifesteal in our build in the early stages of the game. Of course, later on we want to go for Death's Dance, but we don't actually run Hunter Vampirism on Ezreal. So this is your only point of lifesteal. So that's why I 100% of the time go for the Gluttonous Greaves. For the enchant, obviously the most obvious is Stasis Enchant, just for you to not get damaged and wait for your skill cooldowns to come back up. But Ezreal sometimes gets a little bit up close and personal, so it also isn't really a bad option to go for Quicksilver Enchant to remove the CC, or even Proto Belt just to give yourself an extra dash when your E is on cooldown, because your E cooldown is relatively long. Now after that you go for Seraylda's Grudge, which gives you ability haste and AD. Of course you want ability haste, which the Maul Reminder doesn't give. Now another reason you don't go for the Maul Reminder is because Ezreal doesn't really have a very good time applying the Maul Reminder, because he is a relatively single target AD carry, unlike other AD carries like Xayah or Kai'Sa, who can easily apply the Grievous Wounds to the entire enemy team. Ezreal cannot. So a lot more useful is the Seraylda's Grudge. Now, of course, the main point of this is Ezreal is a caster marksman, so his main point of damage is his skills and abilities. So when you hit your skills and abilities, you will actually give them a 30% slow for 1 second. Now, in the later stages of the game, your Q is going to be up like every 2 seconds, so they're basically going to be perma-slowed if you Q W and then E, or I should say W, Q, and then E, and then Q again. They're going to be like permanently slowed for like a long time. So this is really useful in 2 scenarios. Number 1, when they're chasing you, it's a lot easier to kite them out by constantly slowing them. Number 2, if you're chasing them, it's really easy to keep hitting your slows and continuing on the chase. So 2 real good uses of Seraylda's Grudge. You always want to go for Seraylda's Grudge as your 3rd item, and you don't go for Iceborne Gauntlet anymore because Seraylda's Grudge is just a way more better item for the purpose. Now, Blade of the Rune King is no longer in the build, but if you really want more damage, you can actually swap out Death's Dance for Blade of the Rune King. But personally, I like to go for Death's Dance into Guardian Angel because honestly, I feel like with Ezreal, when you get your Triforce, your upgraded Manamune, and your Seraylda's Grudge, I think that's more than enough damage. I don't actually think you need to build any more damage. So after that, I like to go for Death's Dance first before Guardian Angel in majority of the games. Now this is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, you get Ability Haste, which of course you want again. You get Physical Vamp, which other than the Gluttonous Greaves, this is your only other form of Physical Vamp. And lastly, it's the Costerize, which allows you to convert 30% of your damage taken as a bleed effect instead. So it allows you to delay your damage and allow you to lifesteal back your damage, or minimally stay on the board a little bit longer just to deal out a little bit more damage. So Death's Dance, of course, we go for that. Then we go for Guardian Angel just for the injection of armor, and of course for the revive passive. So I like to go for 2 more safety items on Ezreal, which is 1 more than what you normally build on an AD carry. Now, of course, for the runes, the keystone, you always want to take Conqueror. No better rune on Ezreal, especially now that Kleptomancy is gone. There is no argument here. Even when it was around, not many people were building it anyway. Conqueror was way better. Now, for the second rune, I actually go for Champion. Now, the reason for this is Ezreal's early game isn't the best, but honestly, he can hold his own in the early game into some matchups. Like, you can actually poke them out relatively well. So, Champion is really going to help your laning phase a lot in terms of just dealing a decent amount of damage and not just there being like a glorified cannon minion and just not doing any damage whatsoever. So, Champion is really useful for that, and also because Ezreal is very safe, you're very unlikely to die a lot in the early game, so you're likely to maintain your Champion stacks at least into the mid game, and sometimes even throughout the entire game. You die like only once or you don't die at all, so Champion is going to be really useful for you here, which is why I love taking Champion on Ezreal. I feel that damage really makes a difference. Now, for the second rune, I always take Hunter Titan for mainly the tenacity, because Ezreal sometimes just does, get quite close to enemies, and he can get CC'd quite a bit. So it's really useful to have that tenacity to get out of the CC quicker, to just, of course, escape the situation in general. And of course, we just take Sweet Tooth just for the laning phase. And for the spells, obviously, we want to go for Flash and either Barrier or Heal, standard AD carry spells. So with that, let's move on to the gameplay. Alrighty, so here we are, moving on to the gameplay itself. So now, as usual, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So at the very start, Vayne kind of going to the wrong lane here. We have a very strange team comp, where we have Vayne top and we have an Irelia jungle. So we don't have a real solid front line, and we have a generally squishy comp. So this match is gonna be a challenge, especially with champions like Diana, who can get off big ultimates in our team, and Master Yi, who's really running rampant in solo queue at the moment. So this match is gonna be challenging. So now, first thing I will say is Ezreal has a very glaring weakness in both the early game and the late game, to be fair, which is that he has horrible wave clear compared to nearly every other AD carry, because nearly every other AD carry has some form of AoE that allows you to clear minions. Like Xayah has auto attacks, Kai'Sa has her Q, Jhin has his Q, and Corki has his Q, his E, Lucian has his Q. So basically, when you're playing Ezreal, more often than not, you're gonna get shoved in permanently like how you're seeing me getting shoved in by the Jhin here, especially since Jhin is one of the best wave clears of all the AD carries. So when you're playing Ezreal, expect to get shoved in. So with that in mind, with Ezreal is one of the only few AD carries where, assuming your opponent is in the lane, it's okay to push, because they're really you really will never outpush your opponent. Unless your opponent isn't pushing at all, then you, of course, you don't want to push for no reason. But if your opponent is attacking the wave and all, you can always attack the wave yourself, because you will always lose the pushing battle. So Ezreal's wave clear, of course, is a pretty major problem when it, in majority of the time, because sometimes you just need to clear the wave, and Ezreal really, his only good wave clear is his ultimate, and you don't always want to use your ultimate to wave clear. Sometimes you do want to use your ultimate to wave clear if you're really desperate, like if your ultimate can clear a wave enough to such that the minions don't take a tower or something like that, or you know, you can clear off the last few minions so that the enemy starts taking tower aggro. Of course you do want to do that, but you of course don't always want to just waste your ultimate on clearing a wave. So Ezreal's poor wave clear is a definite problem. So here we have picked up the tier, and we can't afford the Sheen, so we're gonna have to go for a longsword instead. And when you have picked up the tier especially, you want to be launching your Qs as you're walking back to lane. Now I'm kind of looking around the map, so I don't really do that at this current point in time, but you do actually want to do that. So here there is sort of a mini skirmish. I want to put on the ward first to make sure that, you know, we aren't gonna get ganked. My Master Yi actually turns up in the bot lane, so no chance of that actually happening. Alright, so as you guys can see, the enemy team does have a lot of pressure. It is a Jhin and a Seraphine. I managed to actually dodge out the Seraphine ultimate with my E there. One of the great uses of Ezreal, but unfortunately Janna eats it face first and down she goes. So here I'm just going to have to, of course, continue to play safe, and Jhin managed to shove in the entire wave. No surprise there. So they can probably get a good quality reset. And meanwhile, I'm stuck under tower trying to get my CS. So they probably reset. With that in mind, we can probably just shove this wave and try to attempt to get a reset ourselves, most likely. But so far, the laning phase is going alright so far. This is what a standard Ezreal laning phase is going to look like. You get shoved in and you just take the minions and try to poke them out wherever possible, but a little bit difficult in this matchup because Seraphine can poke back and Jhin can poke back as well. So it's not really the easiest. Now I want to back here, but unfortunately the enemy team is back into lane and Dragon is coming in 15 seconds. So if I back here, our team loses all pressure of Dragon, although Irelia is nowhere really close in the first place. But I don't want to just back and basically give them a free Dragon, because if they realize that I'm gone, they can of course go for the free Dragon. So Seraphine, this Seraphine, if you realize her play pattern, she always wants to get her double cast of her E to get off a root. So with that in mind, she is relatively predictable that whenever she has a double cast, she's going to be going for a root. Like, for example, now she's probably going to go for a root right here, as you guys can see. So the Seraphine also apparently wants to ignite us at every available opportunity. She has already used ignite on me twice, like at random times. Here Irelia is coming in for the gank, so we of course want to follow up. She hits her ultimate, so I'm going to E in. I unfortunately get rooted. And here Janna body blocks for me so I don't get killed by the Jhin W. Jhin ults, but everybody is blocking for me. Jhin definitely can't hit me. He knows he can't hit me, so he isn't really firing shots. But he has already popped his ult, so in order not to waste it, he's gonna be firing it to clear the wave, which is a relatively good decision. So now here I can't afford my entire mana mune already. So here as you guys can see, I'm spamming my spells just to try to charge up that mana mune faster. So far, it's a pretty uneventful laning phase. Honestly, as an Ezreal, this isn't really a problem. If I was like a Lucian or a Draven and I was at this current state in the game, I would be a little bit worried because you are really strong early game. Whereas for someone like Ezreal, you really aren't. So there really is no harm in just playing safe and scaling up into the late game. Ezreal really starts to scale in like the mid game when you get your mana mune and your Triforce, like a 2-item power spike. And of course, the next spike is when it becomes a Mura mana. So here we managed to pick up a free Dragon because we see Master Yi in the Herald Pit. We do have a ward there. So here Jhin is on 1 HP. Katarina actually comes in and gets the kill on him. And here I actually managed to land a Q onto the Seraphine. And Katarina hits a Q and her own Q on the Seraphine, which allows me to ult and get the kill on the Seraphine. So I'm doing relatively well. I'm 1-0 and 2. So this is a pretty good state for Ezreal. I finally pick up my Sheen. And of course, I'm going to be launching my Qs as I walk just to charge up the the mana immune itself. Here I see Master Yi's heralding in the mid when the mid lane tower is still relatively high health. Diana comes in. I know she's gonna ult, so I'm gonna eat out of the way. Unfortunately, this creates enough pressure for Master Yi and the Herald to pick up the tower, but we do pick up the kill onto the Diana. And here we're gonna Janna is gonna actually chase the Master Yi. So in order for her not to just simply die to Master Yi, I'm gonna have to chase with her. Seraphine actually rotates as well. I missed a couple of my skill shots. Not good. Janna manages to heal up and CC the Master Yi for me to pick up the kill. Jin has his ult up, but he probably didn't see me there because he didn't even try to launch any of his bullets to me. So I'm just gonna back off and just gonna get a recall to get more items. So I'm gonna pick up the Gluttonous Greaves here. Want to get in that early lifesteal, and of course I'm gonna be spamming my abilities as usual to try to pick up as many stacks on tier as possible. So we're gonna have to rotate back up to the top lane where Jin is clearly pushing in the wave. We of course want to protect the tower to make sure that the tower isn't gonna fall. It is still about half HP, so just gonna try to clear the wave here. And here Irelia is coming in, so I'm actually jumping and going in on the Jin. I managed to hit a lot of abilities on the Jin and ult, and I essentially nearly managed to solo kill him because Irelia didn't actually do anything in this entire time except just show up. So here our team has a little bit of a miscommunication where Irelia and Janna actually goes in, and here I want to actually go into follow up, but Diana actually rotates, so I'm gonna have to back off because it's gonna be a 1v3, so I can't really do anything about it, so I have no choice but to back off. But of course with my long range I can try to pick up some CS with my Q, as shown here. So the Master Yi, we see him at bot. He is at the red buff. Someone has actually pinged it out, which is really nice of the team. So we know that at most only Seraphine and Jin are in the lane. So here it's relatively safe to just pick up some CS. I'm trying to go on the Seraphine, but Jin very predictably turns up. So of course I'm just going to back off. And Janna is slowly rotating back to the lane. But in the meantime, I'm just going to continue CSing, and I've actually gotten my evolved mana immune already before I even pick up Triforce. Majority of the time you actually pick up Triforce before you get your evolved mana immune. That's because you normally just get the tier first, but since I actually got the full mana immune immediately, I actually get the mana immune spike earlier than usual. So here I'm just gonna have to clear out the lane. We can actually see Master Yi in the top, and we see Diana in the top as well. Of course I have horrible wave cure, so I'm slow to rotate, but I do contribute my ultimate to the fight. But I finally reached the fight. I'm gonna flash to actually get the kill on the Master Yi, and I'm gonna continue launching Qs to try to actually hit them. So here Jin actually gets an ultimate. I'm trying to get the Jin, but unfortunately I get CC'd by the Diana, who apparently still has ultimate after this entire time, which did surprise me. Now I gotta admit that I was clearing the minions there. I launched my ultimate to hit all of them, but I didn't actually pan my camera there to see if she should use ultimate. I just assumed that with a clump of 3 people, any Diana would obviously just use ultimate to just, you know, get off the damage and the CC on them. But apparently she didn't actually use her ultimate this entire time. So she did actually have her ult there to CC me under the tower to kill me. So unfortunately I lose a champion stack. And I get my first death of the game. But I'm 4-1-4, it's still alright. I have all my components of the Triforce at the moment. I just need to get to 333 gold to actually pick up the Triforce itself. Master Yi actually trying to come in here to run interference. Unfortunately for him, I actually managed to pick up the dragon. Now that was a really close one because apparently Irelia died, so she can't really smite. So I managed to just pick it up instead of Seraphine. Here I actually make a huge mistake of walking by the river into both Seraphine and Jin, and I honestly was punished for the mistake there, but I managed to escape with a sliver of HP and dodging the Jin W just to live there. If I got hit by the Jin W, I was dead. So major mistake by me, but thankfully I managed to escape with my life, recall, and get my Triforce. So now here is Ezreal's biggest power spike, as mentioned in the build portion of the video. I have my mana immune, I have my Triforce. Now I am definitely looking to fight. I want to fight because I'm really strong at the moment. Pinging that the Diana is missing. Of course people can see her now. Irelia actually goes in, so I'm going to go in with her. Boom, we get the kill off on the Seraphine. As you can see, I'm going to be doing a huge amount of damage now. Nobody is in the tribal, so I'm just going to actually just push out the wave our tower is getting to be really low at this point. Now Diana tries to go in on me. Diana actually does a lot of damage. She has her death cap already, and her Rod of Ages by now probably stacked more than halfway by this point. So she is actually doing a lot of damage. I definitely do not want to engage a 1-on-1 on Diana, at least not at full health for both parties. I want to be poking her out before we fight. Here I'm gonna get off my ultimate, and unfortunately I don't pick up the kill on the Diana, but I do pick up the kill on the Jhin, and I managed to land my W on the Diana, but unfortunately nothing really comes of it. Here Darius is coming in, but he is very kiteable by both me and Janna. I just need to not get too close to him for him to actually hook me, but unfortunately I did actually get into his ult range. Thankfully I don't actually die from it, so I'm back to a sliver of HP yet again, but you know, I'm alive, and that's all that really matters. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna get my last whisper, my penetration item, which is gonna be useful against the Darius in particular, who has actually decided to rush. Or I shouldn't say rush Thornmail. He has gone for Bramble Vest first into the Black Cleaver, and now he has completed the Thornmail. Now, as I mentioned in some of my tank videos, completing Thornmail is not a really good idea. It's not the most goal efficient item. Here I'm gonna ult to just participate in the fight. And Master Yi actually manages to get a double kill off that W. So here Jhin actually CCs himself by ulting and standing still. So I actually managed to pick up the kill on the Jhin, as well as a triple kill onto the Diana. And of course we're going onto the Darius, but unfortunately the Vayne picks up the kill, so I am denied the quadra kill by the Vayne. So instead the entire enemy team is down except for the Seraphine. So we're just gonna push here, because we can easily get this tower. And of course pick up the honey fruit along the way. We can push this minion wave into the next tower, but Seraphine is around, and the rest of the enemy team is already beginning to respawn. So it's not really the safest idea to just simply stick around and force the tower down, especially when it's just me and Vayne. So instead I'm just going to recall. Master Yi actually turns up, and Vayne actually cancels her recall, and they end up fighting a 1v1 in the jungle, where actually Vayne does receive backup from Janna and allows her to pick up the kill onto the Master Yi. In the meantime, I'm gonna go to and clear the bot lane, because none of my team are anywhere in the vicinity of the bot lane. There's a huge wave at the bot lane, and the minions are crashing into the tower, so no point in wasting the gold of this lane. And also we want to protect the tower, so we are going to be farming up this minion. Consequently, I'm not around for the dragon fight that is about to break out, but I will be around to pick up the red buff. So I have actually gotten my Seraylda's Grudge, so as you can see I'm slowing the red buff at every Q. So I managed to actually hit my ultimate on the entire enemy team, but unfortunately my entire team dies. Vayne is just coming up from base. So here the entire enemy team is low, so I'm gonna eat in, kill the Seraphine, trying to kill the Darius here. And Vayne gets the kill on the Darius, and we're gonna just kill the Jhin, who finds himself in no man's land. So Master Yi unfortunately is still in the area, so we can't actually just straight up do the dragon, because he will just smite it from us. So instead I'm going to back it up and just Q him. Now unfortunately he did ult, so I can't actually slow him, but thankfully he does not actually continue on the chase. Now it's very obvious that Master Yi has gone back to the dragon, so we're gonna of course run interference on him. He can't actually take out both me and Vayne. So I'm just gonna back off. Here I flash away from Diana because I thought she was going onto me, but instead she actually just presses Hourglass, because I'm pretty scared of the Diana damage. She does have probably max stacks of her Rod of Ages at this point in time. She has hit her death cap, and she almost has her Nashers. So I'm really scared of the Diana. I'm probably most scared of the Diana in the entire team, or Master Yi if I'm in like a 1v1 against him. Other than that, I'm not too scared of the rest of the team. It's just really the Diana and the Master Yi that are big threats to me, so I want to keep my distance from them and let my team, you know, be my front line and just shoot my Qs from the back line. So here I pick up my Death's Dance, which is going to help me a lot against Diana and Master Yi, because they can't burst me as easily. So as usual, another fight ensues, and as usual I'm not there. So what do? I launch my ultimates. And I actually managed to clip the Jhin with the ultimate, but you know my team is not going to chase for that, so nothing too much comes of it. Here I'm actually planning to attack Baron, because my team is very ahead at this point in time. We're 10k goal ahead of the enemy team. Of course we can't see that in the game itself, but we do know that we are very ahead of the enemy team, and we can just simply force the Baron. Master Yi is spotted in the top lane, so this Baron is basically guaranteed because there's no one who can actually get smite this Baron away from us. Darius makes the mistake of actually showing up, so we're just gonna kill him. Diana also, not Diana, Jin also wrong place, wrong time, so there goes the Jin. Master Yi decides he wants to keep on pushing, he wants to be the split pusher of the team. What he doesn't realize is that you can't out-split push a Baron buff, and I realize also going there to stop his split push. So we are 4 men just pushing into the base. Diana actually tries to come in and, you know, just try to do something about it, but she just dies. So does Seraphine, and we're just going to end the game here because Master Yi has decided that he doesn't actually want to recall, so we were just going to easily pick up the victory here. So you can see that Ezreal is still really strong even in patch 2.4a and basically after patch 2.4, just that probably a lot of ADCs have overtaken him in terms of power, but we still managed to do the most damage and we still managed to, you know, basically carry our team 13-1-8. So with that, guys, I'll leave you guys with the stats as usual. So thanks for watching the video, guys, and goodbye.